Thank you for the kind introduction. I am happy to be here to speak to you. I am Hasmukh Patel. I am the Division Director in the Division of Post-Marketing Activities 1 in the Office of Lifecycle Drug Products in Office of Pharmaceutical Quality in CDER. My division is responsible for all NDA post-marketing CMC activities, which includes review of supplemental new drug applications, addressing drug shortages and product quality related issues, and handle other post-marketing activities. In my presentation, I will give an overview of post-approval changes to chemistry, manufacture, and controls changes to approved NDAs. CMC changes to an approved NDA are inevitable, and they are made for various reasons throughout the life cycle of the drug product. When making CMC changes, for example, changes in a manufacturing site or manufacturing process, have you come across questions like, are there any post-approval reporting requirements for NDAs? Can I make changes post-approval without notifying the agency? If I have to notify, how do I notify? What information and data will I have to provide to support the change? Where do I find information to make CMC changes post-approval? And are there any resources, guidances available that I can refer to make a change? These are common questions we come across time to time. I will try to address these questions in my presentation. I will describe pertinent regulations and guidances for making post-approval CMC changes, including ICHQ 12 and comparability protocols. I will cover type of submissions to FDA for post-approval changes and discuss opportunities available for seeking guidance from FDA. This slide shows the drug life cycle and life cycle management of NDA. The drug life cycle starts with the investigational studies under an IND. Once the studies are completed and the studies support safety and efficacy of the drug, a new drug application is submitted to the agency for approval. The NDA life cycle begins after its approval and continues until the NDA is withdrawn. So what are the reporting requirements for approved NDAs? I will go over two reporting requirements for CMC. One is 21 CFR 314.70. This is for changes to an approved NDA. And the other one is 21 CFR 314.80 and 314.81 and section 55K. This regulation requires reporting of adverse drug experience, field alert reports, annual report, and other reporting. I would like to bring your attention to the field alert reports requirement. The field alert reports are required for reporting product quality related issues. For example, let's say a batch of the drug product on stability failed a stability specification. As it failed the approved stability specification, you are required to report this to FDA in a field alert report. 21 CFR 314.70 requires notification of each change in each condition established in an approved application. There are some exceptions. The conditions approved in the application are components and composition, manufacturing sites, manufacturing process, control strategy, specifications, packaging, etc. When you make changes to any of them, you are required to notify FDA in a supplement or annual report. So you may ask why. Well, when you manufacture the drug product as described in the approved NDA, It will give you a product that meets the quality standards, that is specifications approved in the NDA. It will ensure the safety and efficacy of the drug product. The drug product manufactured with the change may or may not be of the same quality as that before the change. This regulation requires the applicant of an approved application to assess the effects of the change before distributing a drug product made with a manufacturing change. This is to make sure that the drug product manufactured after making the change is of the same or better quality than that manufactured before the change. This is very important because the safety and efficacy of the drug product depends on its quality. Now I will go over guidances for making post-approval CMC changes. They are guidance for industry, changes to an approved NDA or ANDA. This is also known as post-approval change guidance. Scale-up and post-approval change guidances, also known as SUPACs. ICHQ 12, technical and regulatory considerations for pharmaceutical product lifecycle management. Comparability protocol, continuous manufacturing and emerging technology. Changes to an approved NDA or ANDA. The guidance recommends reporting categories for various changes. The reporting categories are based on the risk to the drug product quality. It is based on the effect of the change on the identity, strength, quality, purity and potency of the drug. If the effect is major, submission of a prior approval supplement is required. If the effect is moderate, a changes being effected supplement is required. And if the effect is minimal, it can be reported in an annual report. It covers both the drug substance and the drug product. It does not recommend specific information to be developed to assess the effect of the change, meaning it does not recommend what studies and tests need to be performed and the acceptance criteria to be achieved to assess the effect of the change. It recommends reporting categories for components and composition, manufacturing sites, manufacturing process including change in synthetic route for API, specifications, container closure system, labeling, miscellaneous changes such as stability protocol, comparability protocol, or change in shelf life, and multiple related changes. I have a challenge question. A company wants to add a site to manufacture their drug X in the same city at a different location. What should they do? Add the site, start manufacturing and distribute the product, or notify the FDA by submitting a supplemental application to the NDA, manage the addition under their pharmaceutical quality system, or call FDA and let them know about the addition. The answer is B. Notify the FDA by submitting a supplemental application to the NDA. The reason for this is that the site is new, even though it is in the same city, and may require inspection. Now I will go over SUPAC guidances. There are 4 SUPAC guidances. SUPAC IR for immediate release solid oral dosage form. SUPAC MR for modified release solid oral dosage form. SUPAC SS for non-sterile semi-solid dosage form. And SUPAC for manufacturing equipment. Unlike the post-approval change guidance, SUPEC guidances provide recommendations only for 4 changes: components and composition, manufacturing site changes, change in batch size, scale up or scale down, and manufacturing process and equipment. The guidances define the level of change based on the risk to the product quality. Level 1 being minimal risk to the product quality, level 2 moderate risk, and level 3 major risk. They recommend CMC test for each level of change, including in vitro dissolution test and or in vivo bioequivalence test for each level of change, and documentation that should support the change in the filing category. I have a challenge question for you. A company wants to change the composition of their immediate release tablet drug product. Which FDA guidance should they refer to? SUPEC MR, SUPEC SS, changes to an approved NDA or ANDA, or SUPEC IR? The answer is SUPEC IR because it is an immediate release solid dosage form. Now I will talk about the comparability protocol guidance. This guidance provides another means of managing post-approval changes. Here is the definition of comparability protocol from the guidance. It is a comprehensive, prospectively written plan for assessing the effect of a proposed CMC post-approval change on the identity, strength, quality, purity, and potency of a drug product or a biological product, as these factors may relate to the safety or effectiveness of the product, that is, product quality. Agency approval of the submission containing the CP provides the applicant with an agreed upon plan to implement the change. So, what should be included in a CP? Description of and a rationale for the proposed change, specific tests and studies to be performed. These tests are usually the specifications, but in some cases, additional studies may need to be performed and the acceptance criteria to be achieved. The purpose is to demonstrate that the drug product quality after making the change is same or better than that before the change. Prior to implementing the specified change in the comparability protocol, you have to perform the studies and tests described in the approved CP and achieve the acceptance criteria approved in the comparability protocol. This is to demonstrate that there is no adverse effect of the change on the drug product quality. To implement, you have to notify the agency as per the filing category approved in the comparability protocol. So, what are the benefits? It facilitates the subsequent implementation and reporting of the change specified in the CP. Can result in moving the product into distribution sooner than if a protocol were not submitted. Changes can be made repeatedly over the life cycle of the product or can be a one-time change. Potential reduced reporting category for implementation of a CP. The filing category will depend on the product and process knowledge and understanding, robust control strategy, risk management activities over the product shelf life, effective pharmaceutical quality system, and tests and studies to be conducted. For example, if the filing category for the change is a prior approval supplement, as per the post-approval change guidance or SUPEC guidances, it can be reduced to a lowering filing category such as CB30 or CB0. It can be submitted in the original application, NDA, ANDA or BLA, and in supplements, a prior approval supplement. It can be submitted for one or more changes. It can be submitted to cover an identical change that affects multiple applications. For example, if you have a drug substance which is used for multiple NDAs and you want to submit a comparability protocol for a change in the source of that drug substance, you can submit a comparability protocol to cover the multiple applications. I have a challenge question for you. Can you submit a comparability protocol for the manufacturing process and packaging components? Yes or no? The answer is yes. You can submit a comparability protocol for one or more changes. Now I will go over ICHQ 12, technical and regulatory considerations for pharmaceutical product lifecycle management. This is an ICH guideline for pharmaceutical product lifecycle management. It has not been finalized yet. Currently, it is at step 5. ICHQ 12 provides a framework to facilitate the management of post-approval changes in a more predictable and efficient manner, describes tools and enablers to manage many CMC changes effectively. It could result in fewer submissions of supplements to NDAs. It applies to both drug substance and drug product and encourages innovations and continual process improvement. The fundamental tools and enablers described in the guideline are established conditions. I will talk about them in the next slide. Product lifecycle management. This is a central repository for the established conditions and the associated reporting category for changes made to the established conditions. Post-approval change management protocol. This is also known as a comparability protocol. It is for making changes to the established conditions. And pharmaceutical quality system. Established conditions. What are established conditions? They are elements in an application considered necessary to assure product quality. For example, it could be critical manufacturing process parameters or critical product attributes or any other element. They are legally binding when submitted and approved in the application. Any change to EC necessitates a submission to the regulatory authority. The submission will depend on the change to the established condition. It can be submitted in the original NDA or post-approval as a prior approval supplement. Supportive information, also known as non-established conditions. These are the conditions other than the established conditions, meaning that these conditions are not considered necessary to assure product quality. They are managed under company's pharmaceutical quality system and no need for regulatory approval prior to implementation. ICHQ 12 describes how established conditions are identified in an application and what information can be designated as supportive. In the application, when you propose established conditions and designate other information as supportive information, you have to justify both of them and provide supportive information. Last year, FDA announced a pilot for established conditions to gain experience in receiving, assessing, and engaging with applicants regarding proposed established conditions. It was limited to a total of 9 applications. Applications were received for NDAs, ANDAs, and BLAs. Established conditions have been approved for a few NDAs, both for the drug substance and the drug product. Now I will go over emerging technology program at FDA. So what is emerging technology? This is the definition from the guidance. Technology with the potential to modernize the body of knowledge associated with pharmaceutical development to support more robust, predictable, and or cost-effective processes or novel products, and with which the FDA has limited review or inspection experiences due to its relative novelty. They can be an innovative or novel product, manufacturing process, or analytical technology. The emerging technology program objectives are to serve as a centralized location for external inquiries on novel technologies, to provide a forum for firms to engage in early dialogue with FDA to support innovation, to ensure consistency, continuity, and predictability in review and inspection, to identify and evaluate potential roadblocks relating to existing guidance, policy, or practice, and help establish scientific standards and policy as needed. FDA has experience with both small and large molecules with emerging technologies. FDA has received and approved applications for continuous manufacturing, 3D printing, continuous aseptic spray drying, ultra long acting oral formulation, closed aseptic filling system, control ice nucleation for lyophilization. These are some of the technologies FDA have approved. Currently, pharmaceutical products are manufactured by a batch process. A batch process consists of several unit operations. For example, in the case of an immediate release tablet product, it starts with mixing of ingredients, active and inactive, blending, compressing into a tablet, and tablet coating. A batch process must stop from unit operation to unit operation until the finished drug product is produced. It requires large capital because of the large space and equipment required. If you want to change the size of the batch, increase or decrease, it may require a different size of the equipment. In a continuous manufacturing process, a drug product is manufactured continuously, starting from all ingredients active and inactive to the final product without any stop during manufacturing. This means there is no need for shutting down the equipment during the manufacture. It does not require a large capital as the equipment used is smaller in size compared to the batch process, and therefore the space required is smaller than that required for a batch process. As the batch size depends on how long you run the process, you can increase or decrease the batch size by running it for a short or a long time. No need for changing the equipment. Both the batch process as well as continuous manufacturing process give the same quality product. FDA has approved continuous manufacturing process for a few products, both for the drug substance as well as the drug product. Majority of them are for an immediate release tablet products. FDA has also approved a semi-continuous manufacturing process for a product. In a semi-continuous manufacturing process, some operations are performed like a batch process and some operations are performed as a continuous process. The agency encourages introduction of emerging technologies. CMC only meetings during the development of new technology for approved NDAs greatly facilitate first cycle approval. There is an emerging technology team at FDA and the contact information is given here. There are two guidances related to the emerging technology. They are guidance for industry, advancement of emerging technology applications for pharmaceutical innovation and modernization, guidance for industry, quality considerations for continuous manufacturing, guidance from FDA. There are different ways of contacting FDA for seeking guidance. One is meetings with FDA. There are three types of meetings available: Type A, Type B, and Type C. Usually Type C meetings are requested for the CMC. You can also contact the review division for application-specific issues and OPQ inquiry box for other inquiries. In summary, the agency seeks to promote continuous improvement in the drug product quality and encourages good life cycle management. Follow regulations for making CMC changes to approved NDAs and for reporting requirements. Refer to available guidances for filing categories and information and data requirements to support the change. If needed, contact the agency for further guidance. In closing, prior to making any decisions for changes to the approved NDA, refer to the regulations and available guidances for recommendations and requirements for those changes. This will help in submitting a better submission to the agency and will help agency in the review and approval of the submission. Thank you. We will take questions at the end of the session.